Hello, this is Michael Hartl from the Ruby on Rails tutorial, and this is a little behind the scenes look at the production of the Rails tutorial, both in terms of the sample application and the online book. And the motivation for this actually came from my realization that there is something missing in the test for pagination. And so I thought this would be a good example of how it is that I go about making this this document, and it's also a way of helping me gear up for the production of the full screencast series, which is going to start very soon. So let's take a look at what I'm talking about here. Let's look at the sample application. This is the complete sample application as developed in the book, and there is a users link here that shows all of the users in the application. So these users are generated by a rake task that makes lots of sample users with generated names, and then I've associated some email addresses that are used in the sample data. Let's take a look at that actually. The example, or the sample emails are example dash and then a number at railstutorial.org. So I control that domain, which means that I can associate some email addresses with some images. So these are the gravatars for a few sample users. Now, one of the things that you might notice is that there's this pagination link here. We can click on next, and if you look at the URL, you can see that there's a page equals 2. Now, if you look at the tests, I realize that we're not testing for the display of the second page. So let's take a look at, well, first of all, let's just run the test suite to verify that it's actually working. Just to let you know, I'm going to keep the command key viewing on. So you can see that I'm going to do command 2 to go to the second tab here. This is my local Rails development server. And command 3 shows you that in the third tab, I'm running Spork. So this speeds up the overhead in running the test. So rspec runs everything. And we're green, so that's good. Now let's take a look at how we generate these users. These users are coming from the users controller, and there's an @users variable. Let's look at index. So you look at the index, you can see that there's this call to render @users, and this @users variable comes from the index here, and it uses the paginate method given to us by the will paginate gem. Now, let's take a look at this test here. This is the user pages spec. This tests, among other things, pagination. Here it is, describe pagination. And I'm going to run these tests using a plugin for Sublime Text that can run our spec examples inside of the editor. So you can see here that we've got 43 examples, 0 failures right here. Now I'm going to change this params page here. I'm just going to hard code the number 1. And rerun the test. Now, I've actually just broken the application, but the test still passed. So that's actually not a good situation to have. This is the kind of thing that you can test or not test for this, but it gives me a little bit of an unclean feeling to see that this still passes. So let's take a look at the test. One of the things we notice is that we actually have a second page variable here, which means that we do have a list of the users that are supposed to show up on the second page, which means it should be easy to test for their appearance. So let's take a look at these tests. It should list each user. It should list the first page of users. It should not list the second page of users. Okay, that's the result of visiting the users path, which is just this page here, /users. But we don't have a test for visiting the second page. So we can go down here. We can add another describe block, pagination showing the second page. And in here, we need to, before this, we need to do a user's path. We need to visit user's path, and we want the page to be 2. And then we want to say that, well, we can say here we've got it should not list the second page of users. We can actually just copy this whole thing, and we can change it just slightly. So after we visit the user pages, or the user's path with the parameter page is 2, it should list the second page of users. And so remember, second page is just the list of users on the second page from this let up here. User.paginate page is 2. Which means that we can make this a valid test by changing page.shouldNot to page.should have selector. So this li is just a list element, and the text should be the name of the user. So let's save that and rerun our tests. So that's good. So we've got, if you see here, there's one F. There's one failing test. And we've got a bunch of, we've got some information about which tests actually failed. And we have 44 examples, one failure here. So let's go back here and verify that we can get it to work. I'm just going to undo. So save that and rerun the test. Excellent. So now we've got a working test. Well, let's commit that. And now I have a decision to make. Do I want to add this test to the book? Well, so let's take a look at the book. I've got it running in Firefox here. Here's the local copy of the book. It's running on localhost. I run it on port 3001 just to keep it separate from the sample application. And I'm just going to search for pagination because I know I cover it somewhere. Here it is. All right, so this is in chapter 9. Let's take a look at the test for this. So here's the test for pagination. Now, if you look carefully at this test, you can see that we actually don't have anything close to this number of tests, which is a suggestion that it's probably an exercise, which is cool because it means it'll be easy to add to the book. Of course, I could just not add it, but if it's easy to add, then I definitely want to. And here we are. This is listing 953. If you look up here, there's an exercise, improve the test for pagination with the code shown in listing 9.53. So here it is, 953 has this this code, and it's really easy just to drop this in. We can just drop this whole guy right in there. So the way to do that is to go to the book. I've opened this with Sublime, and then this is the where the book lives, and the chapters are the individual chapters. So this is in chapter 9, which is updating and deleting users. And so now I typically can just search for something that that looks unique to this. So it should list the first page of users. So let's just look at that. All right, so that popped us down to this, a more thorough test of pagination. Actually, that's probably what I should have searched for. So now I can just drop that right in because it's an exercise. I don't feel bad about dropping in some extra code. Oops. That's that's jump cut, by the way. It's a really useful little application. It lets you keep multiple things in your buffer. All right, so just in case you're curious, this is a LaTeX document, and this is an example of of what I do when I write the book. This is a code listing. This is actually an environment that I define. It's a custom environment. And then I just paste it in the code, and there's some an indication here that this is Ruby code. So let's run this thing. I'm going to run Polytechnic. It's actually, I have a script called Polyquick. And then you give it the version of Rails. So while this is running, let me just show you that currently this is version 3.2. I will make this the default pretty soon, so that if you go to /book here, it'll just be the second edition. Right now it's the first edition. See, this is using Rails 3.0 rather. But there's a link here. Okay, so let's take a look at this. Okay, so it's finished running, and now I'm just going to it was listing 9.53, so let's just search for that. And if we reload this, it should have our new code. There it is, describe showing the second page before visit users path pages 2. So this is just the code we had here. For the book, I do like the light background, but when I edit, I almost always use a dark background. I tried them both. They're both fine, but I do like the dark background. I think it's better for screencast too. So this is now our syntax highlighted code. We've just added in this extra describe block, and since it's such a terse exercise, it just says use this code. It's easy to add. There's one thing that I would like to say, because this, you notice that we had to break the application to get that code to red. What I'm going to add a note to that effect. Improve the test before testing for showing and I'm going to give a hint. Change. So that's enough of a hint that if you're really paying attention, you should be able to figure out what I mean by that. So let's take one more look at this. I'm going to run this, and it takes a while to run because it's a more than a 500-page book. So any sort of code, any sort of program to make a book out of this takes quite a while to run. Among other things, making the PDF takes quite a while too. Eventually, the program that does this, which is called Polytechnic, will be faster. I think that there are a lot of places where it can be made more efficient. But right now, it's good enough for my purposes. I do have plans to release Polytechnic at some point, at a date that I have sworn I will not commit to. In fact, I'm probably going to go one better and actually help people actually use Polytechnic using a web platform. Okay, so here we go. Just want to make sure that we've got this here. Good. I don't like the phrasing here. So let's say the test in the last describe block. The test. There we go. Good. So that'll work. Let's do this, and while we're doing that, let's push this up. I can show you this here. So this is where the sample application lives, and let's see if it's done. Let's reload this and see if we can find. Yeah, here it is. So here's the commit, add a test for showing second page of users. And at this point, I'm ready to commit this change. In fact, it's pretty much the same message. Let's just do that. I don't know if you could hear that. There was a sound. I have it set it up to play a sound. It's playing in headphones right now, but you might have heard a little sound there. I have it set up. There's a post-commit hook that plays some kids clapping and saying "yay" because I want some feedback. I want a positive reinforcement to making a commit on the book. And now I've got a script called deploy that deploys the tutorial. What this does is so this polyquick, it copied a bunch of files over to where the book is running locally. What this does is commits that change, which I don't care about the commit messages for that, because it's just I just need to make a commit in anticipation of pushing it up to get to Heroku. So what it does is it makes a commit, and it pushes it up to Heroku. Actually, it does a full polysync. That's another script that actually makes sure to copy over all the CSS files and anything that's needed by the book. But so this is my publishing process. You can see that it's pretty lightweight. Some of you may wonder, how is it that I make such quick changes? Like, I'll get an email saying, "Hey, there's a bug," and I'll fix the bug and push it out in just a matter of a minute or two. So this is the workflow. In fact, let's go to the full thing. Oops. That's it right there. So this is the live book now. on the web. Right now it's just Heroku's receiving the push and it's launching the new version. And let's go down to, and it was 9:53, right? So this is the old version, and let's check to see if it's run. There it is. Reload it. The first time this gets hit, sometimes it takes a little longer because it actually does some stuff on the back end to strip out some of the formatting on the live site. It doesn't really matter, but the point is that it's actually cached after the first hit. So sometimes it takes a little bit. Well, this is unusually long. I don't know why this is taking so long. There we go. It was weird. Sometimes the internet does that. There we go. So our extra little describe block is there. And let's just read the thing here. Improve the test for pagination. You know, I think I want to do one more thing. I want to change the test for pagination right here. I want to say tests for pagination because there are multiple tests. So let's take a look at, let's just make that one last change. Oops. Sometimes it doesn't matter what the message is. There we go. And so by pushing out a new version of the book, it's really very satisfying to be able to make changes like this and publish a new version of a book like this so quickly. All right, so this is a good example, I think, of how to develop the sample application and how to find little bugs. And then in this case, I've given you a behind-the-scenes tour of how this Rails tutorial book is actually produced. By the way, you might notice I've got two panes here. This I don't always use two panes, but it's very useful. Oftentimes, I have the same file in both panes. It's pretty cool. So if I'm working on this here and I want to put in a cross-reference, I can find the reference over here without losing my spot here. So Sublime Text is really awesome this way, that even for editing a document like this, it's really nice to have two panes so that you can have the same file in two places. And of course, you can open other files as well. You can do the beginning and so on. This is great for when you're trying to track down your cross-references. Let's take a look at this. So we wanted to change that test to tests. The internet is slow again. I don't know what's going on here. There we go. Change test to tests. Improve the test for pagination with the code shown in this listing. Before testing for showing the second page of users, be sure that the test in the last describe block is read. Hint, change params of page to 1. Oh, you know what? There is one more thing. This is the kind of thing when you write a book like this, I mean, I like to get things right. Change params page to 1 it's in the user's controller. So let's track that down. Here it is. It's actually in listing 935, which is this. So that's the listing will paginate index action. So let's do this one last change. So hint, change params page to 1 in listing. Let's see the users. Oh, it's actually the index action, isn't it? So this is my cross-reference, and that's one last thing. All right, so this is going to take a couple seconds. I'll skip ahead and then reset it. And now we're done. Let's take a look at the actual application. Just reload it here. And let's go down. It was listing 953, so we can go down to that. And it's this exercise right here. Yes, so now we've got a cross-reference from the user's index action from listing 9.35, so we can click on that and say, oh yeah, that's right, we have this pagination here. So we want to change params page to 1 to break the test. And that's it. That's how I develop the sample application and how I write the book. I hope you enjoyed it.